Hey everybody, Elliot here, and welcome back to the channel. And another episode of Elliot Electricity Reacts. I have not done a reaction video in, since December or last year, so it's been a while. First reaction in a new house, and a very shitty couple weeks for me. Yeah. But I'm feeling a little better, so let's get back. So I'm finally back, and I'm gonna try reaction videos again, or at least gonna be watching videos and trying to give my own opinions. And I thought for today's video we react to this one, which is every WCW pay-per-view of 2000 range from worst to best by our good old pals of Cultaholic Wrestling. I don't know that much about WCW in a couple of years, but I do know one thing: 2000 is considered one of the worst years in the company. The last full calendar year of WCW's existence, and this year was basically its last full year, and they didn't go out with a bang, with a whimper. And of course, 2001 happens. They get 3 shows: Sin, Super Bowl Revenge, and Greed, and that was it for WCW. Basically, I hear that every WCW show from 2000 is shit. So basically, this rankings video, I think it's pretty much going to be the worst shit to the not so shit, but still shit. I think that's basically how this is going to go. Now I made a Reddit post about 2 months ago. Follow me on Reddit, by the way. A link down below. What? Plug aside. I did post something on Reddit, which is very much, in your opinion, what do you think the worst WCW pay-per-view from every year of the Monday Night Wars was? So from 95 all the way to 2001, worst pay-per-views from each year. And for 2000, I chose Halloween Havoc 2000. I know it's Stain and Jeff Jarrett. It's where a bunch of stains kept popping up everywhere. It's kooky, but it kind of laughed at me. Yeah, I won't lie. And I admit the opener was very good too. Then we get them at the main event, which was a 3-minute squash match, was Goldberg versus Chronic. Okay. And Ernest Miller versus Mike Sanders for WCW Commissioner. Don't know what they were smoking here. And plenty of shit. But I'm done talking. Let's see what Cultaholic think are the worst pay-per-views. Well, what is the worst and what is the best pay-per-view from 2000? If you want to go see either the video or go view more Cultaholic videos for yourself, I will link both the original video and the channel in the description of this video. So go check them out. They make entertaining. It's the first time I'm ever watching Cultaholic for a video. And also, if you enjoy this video, I got a whole playlist of reaction video. I got other stuff up as well. So please go check those out. And like the video and subscribe to the channel, as I want to try and get 100 subscribers before the year is out. I'm right now at 78. Let's see if I can get 100. Help a brother out, will ya? But without further ado, let's get into the video. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, click.
It became clear as the year 2000 wore on that WCW
It's Adam
was very likely
Pacitti,
beyond
alright.
saving, bleeding millions of dollars and irreparably harmed by countless bad decisions both in the
Not
ring
enough
and
money
behind the
coming in, too
scenes.
much coming
the
out.
promotion hardly resembled the sports entertainment powerhouse it had been just a couple of years prior. Rather than the place where the big boys play, which had, lest we forget,
NWO.
beaten WWE for 83 straight weeks in the ratings on Monday
Oh, I
night,
love that
WCW
podcast.
was at this point simply trying to
I do
live
listen to
another
every
day.
week
And
with
their
Eric
days
Bischoff. It's
were
actually-
numbered. With so
it's always
much
interesting.
instability, it's unsurprising that the group's pay-per-view output was far from stellar. In fact, plainly speaking, it was downright awful. But just how bad did it get? And is there anything
Well, let's
redeemable
find
within
out,
the
shall
dross?
we? There was
I'm
a
Adam
lot
Pacitti from Cultaholic
that happened in
Wrestling, and this
2000
is
that I
every
don't really
WCW
remember,
pay-per-view of
because
2000
there was just so
ranked
much
from worst to
happening.
best. Join us.
And it ain't good
Number
stuff.
12, the Great American Bash.
Oh,
When a
Great
match
American
involving David
Bash.
Flair is the best thing on a show, you know you're in serious trouble.
Hey, don't
and
do
serious
David
trouble
like
is
that.
exactly what WCW was in come the summer of 2000, as the company continued to circle.
Wasn't this like the show with like the Human Torch match between Vampiro and Sting? I think that was the show, if I'm being correct. So apparently, you know it's bad if David Flair has the best match on the show. Well, what did we get at Great American Bash 2000?
The drain on the way to their inevitable demise. It didn't have to be this way, but so it was, and the promotion didn't even have the decency.
Oh,
to
was
give
this like
fans
the
some
show with like
half-decent
I
wrestling
think
on one of their
Goldberg's
signature
heel
events, while
turn?
it chucked money down the drain and
Well, this
battled
was Goldberg
with
turn heel
ever-present
because that was pretty bad.
turmoil. Kicking this disaster off with a usually dependable cruiserweights. Well, one of them anyway, Chavo Guerrero. Wrestling
Hey, I do
here
love
in his Miss
Chavito.
in action Lieutenant Loco guys was dependable. The other one was Disco Inferno. The bout lasted a shade under 5
Hey, I
minutes
like
and was
some Disco
basically a
Fever. I'm a
the
fan of
war
Disco
between
Fever. I love
NIL and
reliving the war.
animals. It's worth noting that at one point an old man in army
What
clothes
the
came to
hell?
ringside and had a heart attack. He was then revived after the match by Major Guns, who kindly took her kit off before giving him mouth-to-mouth. Chronic's victory over the Mama Luke started
must have
out
been a good-
okayish enough, but quickly
Must have
disintegrated
been
into
a good
slop
payday for
mess.
that man,
Mike
huh?
Awesome and Diamond Dallas Page's ambulance match was a decent enough brawl, which really should have been better. It might have been too, had it not
Okay.
been bogged down with distractions from Kimberly Page, Eric Bischoff, and Canyon.
That's always
the boot camp
the-
match between
that's the
Booker
thing with
G.I.
these-
Bro T and Sean Stasiak was a snoozer.
That's the thing with these WCW matches in 2000. It was like a constant run-ins, interferences, constant swerves, constant face turns, constant heel turns. It was. I'll give them credit. It was it definitely made them unpredictable, but then again, it was like unpredictable and predictable at like the same time. It's weird. And GI Bro. Yeah, this does seem like a pretty bad show, I won't lie. Yeah.
A standard table match between Shane Douglas and The Wall was turned into a best-of-5 tables match before the bell. And if you're thinking
What?
more table bumps meant the match would be better, well, you are bang wrong.
It
also, even
should.
though both men only went through
I don't
2
even think
tables, the franchise
You could have put the
somehow ended
Dudleys
up
in
the
there and
winner.
you might
Go
have
figure.
gotten like
The
a
best thing I can say
slightly
about
better
the United
match. And
States
oh my
Tag
god, the
Asylum
Asylum.
handicap match with Scott Steiner retaining
I
against Brother
remember
Rick and Tank
Scotty
versus-
Steiner had the
It was
Asylum.
short. I mean, 3 minutes and 30 seconds of crap is certainly better than 15, you know? Hulk Hogan Billy Kidman in a match that was relatively straightforward in comparison to some of the nonsense on this show. It wasn't
What do you
good,
know?
but at least it didn't make me want to commit a crime or anything. And neither did the retirement
Yikes,
match
Adam.
between Rick and David Flair, which was automatically fighting an uphill battle due to the presence of Vince Russo. Charlotte's pay-per-view debut here, by the way.
Hey.
The intelligence-insulting Human Torch
Yeah,
match
this-
between
yeah,
Sting and Vampiro was
this
one
is
of
a
the
guilty
worst
pleasure of
matches in
mine.
WCW history.
I know people hate the Human Torch match between Vampiro and Sting. And I'm sorry I keep pausing, but the Human Torch match, I know it's not good. It isn't good, but it's always just been a guilty pleasure. I just laugh watching it. this is like one of the only things I liked, I guess, about this show.
And just think of the ground that covers. And if you're relying on Kevin Nash and Jeff Jarrett to save this steaming pile of sports entertainment excrement, then I have got some unfortunate news to bring you. The match was rotten and nobody cared because they were all waiting for Goldberg's run-in. What they weren't waiting for was Goldberg to turn heel in one of the most pointless and ill-advised swerves ever.
And one of the worst heel.
Did any of
I
this
say that's one of the worst
because
heel
screw
turns
you.
ever.
That's why. Number 11, Halloween Havoc.
Hey,
one of the best things I can say about Halloween
apparently
Havoc 2000 is that it
my pick
wasn't
for
the
worst.
Great American Bash. So, with those niceties out of the way, let's talk about a show so bad it was downright spooky. Starting the festivities was a 3-team match for the WCW
Hey, that's a good match.
Champs,
I thought
with
it
the
was.
natural-born
I thought it was an
Sean
okay
O'Haire and Mark
match.
Jindrak successfully
Best match on
defending
the
against
show.
Mysterio and Kidman and the Boogie Knights. It was all downhill from there, though Reno's hardcore title defense against Sergeant AWOL was fun nonsense. Corporal Cajun and
I do
Lieutenant
like fun
Loco's win over
nonsense.
Chuck Palumbo and Sean Stasiak was marginally more exciting than watching paint dry. While the mixed tag between the teams of Shane Doug
I say this. I don't like nonsense, but fun. But if it's fun, that is nonsense I can get behind. Maybe I should go and watch that hardcore match. Maybe it is fun nonsense, but then again, I don't have any. Then again, I don't have enough energy to go. Oh, watch 2000 WCW. Think about this. I watched the Reliving the War series. I think I did a reaction to one of the pay-per-views from that series. If you know, it's just it's you're literally reliving the Monday Night War. As for me, I'm living through it for the first time, which is cool. So I'm just thinking, oh boy, Ryan at Wrestling Bios is gonna go through hell and back to watch 2000 WCW, and I'm like a year early, but I salute you for doing good luck for that. Okay, back to it.
Douglas and Tori Wilson and Conan and Tigress was saved only by Tori dressing up as Wonder Woman. And before you accuse me of being sexist, I'm not. I'm just really horny. There's a difference. The DNA rules match between Buff Bagwell and David Flair should have been an NDA match, with the gimmick being that nobody would be allowed to discuss it afterwards. Although discussing that would have somehow been better than watching the kickboxing match between Mike Sanders and Ernest the Cat Miller, which was poorly booked and horrendously executed.
Yikes.
The preceding clunker with Vampiro and that 70s guy Mike Awesome came across like a masterpiece in comparison, and it was still terrible. And so was Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Lance Storm's Canadian title handicap match with General Rection and whatever the hell Jeff Jarrett versus Sting was. I mean, seriously, it's Jeff Jarrett and Sting.
Match.
Just tell them to go out there and have a good match, and they will. Just don't do whatever this was. Booker T's DQ win against Scott Steiner was way below what you would expect from those two, and had a customarily frustrating finish, while Goldberg's match demolition of Chronic
what many people would expect for Booker T and Scott Steiner. It was, I believe, an okay match. Oh no!
Not so much new blood as my vomit that.
When I think of New Blood Rising, the very first thing I think of, which is my favorite part of the show, not only the fact that it was that it was from Canada, which I don't like that my country had to host that shit, was Lance Storm, Mike Awesome, Canadian Rules match. It's gimmicky, but it was fun. I had fun watching that. That's my favorite part. That's my favorite and probably best part about New Blood Rising.
That was rising while watching this Russo Penn nightmare. Finny Roo was back in the big seat as W Creative Force, a term I use politely, and sought to push fresh stars. Which is all fine and dandy, of course, but good intentions at a hungry roster will only get you so far if the gimmicks, angles, storylines, and match finishes suck a fat one.
Well, I mean, they're
this
all
pay-per-view
on
at least
fire,
began on a positive note, with 3 Count and the Young Dragons risking life and limb in a wild ladder match. For a gold record, by the way, not a title. The Great Muta and This
What?
Miller couldn't hope
I
to follow
forgot
them,
that-
and nor
about
would
that
Buff
ladder
Bagwell and
match.
Canyon. The Four Corners
Oh,
Tag
no.
Team title match had too many
There's some stuff I forgot. Out a ladder match for a gold record and not even for a championship. When you think ladder match is like gold, is like championship, Money in the Bank briefcase, and a ladder match, not a gold record. And the Judy Bagwell on a forklift match. Supposed to be a pole match, but you can't put a human being on a pole, so let's drag out a forklift. It's chaotic brilliance. Like, someone thought that was a good idea. Jesus.
teams and 3 special guest referees.
We're not even
with
10
Chavo
minutes
Guerrero
in. Oh
putting on
my
a zebra
God.
shirt and joining the fun midway through.
We're not even
is
10 minutes
why
in
the
and I
hell
feel like I
not.
need a break.
Needless to say, it was a total cluster.
Then again, I'm pausing
Shane
over and
Douglas and
over
Billy
again.
Kidman's strap match should have been better, and it also shouldn't have been a strap match, but here we are. That unnecessary stipulation was followed up with a good old-fashioned rip-off-the-camouflage mud match between Major Guns
What?
and Miss Hancock. The winner? Anybody who enjoys a terrible pun. Oh, and perverts too. Sting then buried the Demon before Lance Storm retained his US title against Mike Awesome in a Canadian rules match, which was basically a Texas death match with the ref counting a 5 instead of a 3. A second Chronic match wasn't something that anyone ordered, let alone Vampiro and a totally uninterested Great Muta. Kevin Nash then beat Scott
You'd
Steiner
think Great
and
Muta
Goldberg
would
in the
put on a
semi-main,
banger, but
only
not
after
that-
the
not
man
on that
exited after
night.
about a minute and then walked out again in an insufferable work shoot centered around
so
him
he's
refusing to take
going
the big,
against
sexy
the
jackknife
scrap.
powerbomb finisher. Work those marks, bro. Finally, Booker T retained his WCW World title in a mediocre and overbooked match with Jeff
I just
Jarrett. Number 9, sold out. WCW entered the 2000 in
2000. I only, out of that whole card, I only remember like one match from Sold Out, and that was like Billy Kidman versus Dean Malenko. A match you'd think on paper would sound like a banger, but in reality, it was Billy Kidman, Dean Malenko wrestling for a few minutes. And the stipulation was, if you left the ring, you lost. And Dean Malenko accidentally rolled out of the ring like you normally would in a wrestling match. And he completely forgot the rules. And that was the last, I believe that was like the last match in Dean Malenko's WCW career before he jumped to WWF. What a sad way to go out. Wow. I like Dean Malenko matches.
Other metric having tanked in the months leading up to the turn of the millennium. You would think they would put their best foot forward in an effort to turn the tide back,
Yeah, you'd
but
think.
Sold Out basically showed what kind of year it was going to be for the promotion. In fact, the very first match did, Dean Malenko
there it is.
unintentionally got himself disqualified when he bailed out of the ring in a match where the stipulation was that anyone who left the ring would be DQ'd. Doh! The Iceman looked mightily miffed in what turned out to be his final WCW appearance. Vampiro, Crowbar and David Flair didn't change the tone in their triple threat match. Neither did Big Vito, Johnny the Bull and the Harris Twins. As for the evening's fourth match, I'll just say this. Oklahoma defeated Medusa to become WCW Cruiserweight Champion. Now let us never speak of it again. The
I'm not
four-man
even gonna
hardcore
talk
title
about it.
match that
No
followed
comment.
was so bad
No
that it
comment.
gave credence to the theory WCW were purposely putting on a terrible show. Well, that or they were just physically incapable of producing a single good match. Leave it to
Why were
Billy
they pushing
Kidman and Perry
Brian
Saturn to
Knobbs?
finally get us there. It was under par for what they could do on any other day, but at least it wasn't completely awful. I mean, that's something, isn't it? Booker T and Stevie Ray's Battle of the Brothers brought us back down to Dudsville, however, and Tank Abbott and Jerry Flynn kept us there before DDP and Buff Bagwell brought us back up to mediocre with their last man standing match. Triple
Oh,
Duty Kidman
jeez.
finally tasted defeat at the hands of the Wall in a cage match before Kevin Nash powerbombed Terry Funk through 3 chairs in an entertaining hardcore scrap.
Okay.
And in the main event, Chris Benoit beat Sid to capture the vacant
moment for Chris.
WCW World title. A supposed show of goodwill from Booker Kevin Sullivan to the Crippler, it was rendered pointless when Benoit, along with Santa Malenko and Eddie Guerrero, walked out of the company the very next night. Their loss was very much WWE's gain, and the departure of the so-called radicals was 4 more nails in the WCW coffin.
The final
Number
nails
8,
were getting placed, and
Uncensored was a WCW pay-per-view that typically sucked.
oh, I remember Uncensored 2000, the Yapapai Indian strap match. That's the show with the Yapapai Indian strap match. I remember that. I know that about that show, and let's see. I know there was like Lex Luger and Sting in a lumberjack match. I don't remember why I thought of that match. I think there was something in good. The strap match wasn't good. I'm rambling and I can't think of the right words to say.
And don't you even dare wish that 2000 was going to break with tradition.
Uncensored just wasn't that good.
Title match between the artist formerly known as Prince Iakea, it was a joke about pop music icon Prince, don't ask, taking on Psychosis. Once the jewel in WCW's crown, the Cruiserweight division had deteriorated rapidly by this point, and this outing certainly didn't recapture former glories. It was still better than XS, a repackage of Lenny and Lodi, taking on the Screaming Demons, the Kiss Demon and Norman Smiley in face paint, of course. The post-match for Bam Bam Bigelow and the Walls Brawl was more entertaining than the match itself, which should have been a hardcore match or something. Anyway, we wouldn't have to wait long for one of those, with Brian Knobbs winning the hardcore title in a gauntlet match with 3 count next. Booker, you can no longer call him T because he lost the rights to that, got some revenge on Harlem Heat 2000 by teaming with Kidman to beat them. It didn't
sounds like a
completely fall
Nitro
apart,
match,
which is a miracle
which is
considering Stevie Ray and a washed-up Ahmed Johnson were out there. Sadly, Philly couldn't drag anything halfway watchable out of Vampiro in their Falls Count Anywhere contest, and the tag title.
A lot of the matches kind of felt like something they just went on
exactly as good as the
TV.
participants would suggest, i.e. not good at all. A bulldog match between Terry Funk and Dustin Rhodes sounds good on paper, but matches...
Wasn't that like where first off, rest in peace to the Funkster Terry Funk, but also wasn't this where like he said something like, "I'll change the rules of the match, it's an I quit match now," and he just knocks out the referee by saying, "You're full of shit." I tried with that Terry Funk impression. I tried.
Aren't wrestled on paper, and this was a major disappointment, save for the typically zany antics of the Funker. A lumberjack match between IRL Mr. Sting and Lex Luger was poor, as was the WCW title match between Sid and Jeff Jarrett. That match didn't close the show, though. Oh no, we've got to reserve that spot for the 873rd meeting between Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair, this time in a Yapapai Indian strap match, brother! As redundant as you would imagine, it was made even worse by the nonsensical finish, as WCW seemingly forgot the rules and had the Hulkster prevail by pinfall in a strap match. Number 7, Mayhem. Hey gang, ready for more lackluster, if not totally rotten
Sorry about the interruption. And I lost my train of thought there. Let's go. Let's back up a bit. So, the Yapapai Indian strap match of finish. He wins by pinfall, and then just to make sure you know that Hogan clearly won, he then touched the turnbuckles, like how you're supposed to win a strap match. What the actual hell? I don't even think Vince Russo was booking the show at that point. I think it was Kevin Sullivan. But But here we go. I believe the next one was Mayhem.
In a strap match. Number 7, Mayhem.
I'm 7.
Ready for more lackluster, if not totally rotten matches and terrible creative? Great, me too. Can't wait. Let's do it. Mayhem 2000 then. We check in with a damning indictment of the cruiserweight division's decline as above-average Mike Sanders battled Pee-wee for the gold. Shame your matches couldn't even manage average Mike. Things picked up with some proper cruisers as 3 Count, the Young Dragons, and the duo of Jamie Noble and Evan Courageous put on an entertaining 3-team spot fest. And there's only one way to follow a high-flying, all-action match like that.
What is it?
Jimmy Hart versus Man Cow. Yep, seriously, and Man Cow wasn't even some excellent man-tart type creation. It was just a man, a DJ or something. There was nothing cow about him. What a letdown. The 3-way hardcore title match was nothing we hadn't seen 1,000 times by this point and was boring as a result, while Billy Kidman and Rey Mysterio's handicap match victory over Chronic and Alex Wright was nobody's finest hour. The Cats and Shane Douglas stunk up the joints with Bam Bam Bigelow and Sergeant AWOL following suit. Want to make it 3 for 3? Lance Storm and General Rection? Why not, eh?
Of course, I love Rection.
Why don't you get yourselves over here and make it an even 4 stinkers in a row? The streak was mercifully broken with the Insiders and the Perfect Event scrapping for the tag team titles. They kept it simple, the fans responded, and it was fine, making it one of the best things on the show to this point.
Right.
Lex Luger was as
I'll take a simple thing
Goldberg as you would predict before we checked out with pay-per-view poster boy Scott Steiner beating Booker T in a straight jacket cage match to back the WCW title. They would have better matches together, but this was about as good as you would expect from a WCW main event in this era. Number 6, Super Brawl. As per usual,
Super Brawl
WCW
2000.
sent out the cruiserweights to
What are they
warm the
gonna for
crowd
this?
up
I
for
believe
Super
this
Brawl
was
2000, with Lash LaRue and the artist formerly known as Prince Iakea.
What I remember was, I believe WCW made a deal with the band Kiss to do to put the Kiss Demon in the main event match. So they put him in a match against the Wall and then did a special main event. I think they could have scrapped the Kiss Demon at that point, but to be fair to Del Torborg, he wanted to continue doing the gimmick, and you know what? Whatever floated his boat.
Competing in the tournament final for the vacant cruiserweight strap. It was just sort of there. So too was Brian Knobbs and Bam Bam Bigelow's hardcore title match. Like much of what WCW were attempting in this era, it was a pale imitation of stuff WWE were doing far better on the other channel. Another short and uninspired match came next in the form of Norman Smiley's handicap loss to 3 counts. The theme continued with the Demon versus the Wall and Tank Abbott taking on Big Al in a leather jacket match. I cannot for one second believe Vince Russo wasn't looking at this point, especially when the next match revolved around the rights to the letter T. However, this one is actually on Kevin Sullivan. Shame on you. The show fully perked up 7 whole friggin' matches in, with Kidman and Vampiro managing to wake the crowd up with an action-packed, albeit slightly sloppy bout. Unfortunately, the Sicilian stretcher match for the tag titles couldn't keep the momentum going. Despite having some fun moments, it was a bit of a mess overall. James Brown then showed up for a segment with Ernest Miller. I mean, sure, why not? Ric Flair and Terry Funk's Texas Death Match would have doubtless been better had it been 1989, but it was still fun to see the old boys out there doing their thing. Speaking of
honestly, it was like a highlight reel.
Hulk Hogan's win over Lex Luger was basically a red and yellow greatest hits tape in what was Hogan's second match back following his post-Halloween Havoc vacation. And while we're on the subject of phoning it in, the 3-way WCW World Title main event really should have been better considering the players involved. Scott Hall's last WCW match was not exactly one to savour. Number 5, Bash at the Beach. However, Hulk Hogan made his in-ring WCW
Bash at the Beach 2000. I can't really say much about that show that hasn't already been said. Everyone's talked about this show. So many people have talked about this show. I'm if I were to talk about Bash at the Beach 2000, we'd be here for fucking ever. So I'm not even gonna like give any comments other than, and I liked Juventud Guerrera versus Chava on the show. Well, I thought that was a good match. And I did also like Booker T getting his moment and to win the world title. That was cool. I did like that. And Booker had another match on the show against Canyon, which I thought was okay. And that's all I can say. That doesn't involve the infamous thing. Also, cake. You'll know what I mean.
Debut at the very first Bash at the Beach pay-per-view in 1994 and had his swan song at the very last. Not that the Hulkster envisioned that being the case or anything. Bash at the Beach 2000, which as far as WCW's efforts in 2000 are concerned wasn't completely without merit, was overshadowed by the farcical situation involving Hogan, Vince Russo and Jeff Jarrett. There are multiple accounts of what actually went down. Was it a work? Was it a shoot? Was it jabroni marks without a life not realizing it was a work, then working a work and working themselves into a shoot? But the end result
Take a shot every time he just said work.
Leaving the promotion and subsequently suing Russo and then AOL Time Warner. The show began well enough, with Juventud Guerrera and Lieutenant Loco having a perfectly respectable cruiserweight title match. The highlights of the hardcore title affair was Ralphus, remember him, being about a mile away from the action and yet somehow managed to fall over and cut his head open. The wedding gown, quote-unquote, match between Daphne and Miss Hancock, meanwhile, was... Gee, would you look at that? I appear to have run out of words, or at least words YouTube will allow me to say. Tronic's tag title victory against the Perfect Event was surprisingly good, despite some predictable sloppiness. Booker T's match with Positively Canyon was also good, but
it was positive.
As was Mike Awesome's DQ win against US champion Scott Steiner. They were having a heck of a wild brawl before the week finish. And you know what Vampiro's graveyard match with the Demon was? A pleasant surprise, shockingly entertaining, better than it had any right to be? No! It was dumb. It was dumb and stupidly dumb.
And I can hardly see it.
Then beat Buff Bagwell in a match that happened before the Hogan Jarrett Russo farce threatened to bring the show to a screeching halt. Goldberg defeated Kevin Nash in the semi-main, terminating Scott Hall's contract as per the pre-match stiffs. Nice to get that sorted out months after the bad guy had actually left the company, eh? And in the impromptu main event, Booker T beat Jeff Jarrett to win the first of his 5 WCW titles. It was actually a really good match, all things considered, but the feel-good moment didn't fully wash the sour taste out of the mouth after the political nonsense from earlier. Number 4, Spring Stampede.
Spring Stampede.
Only one match at Spring
The
Stampede
Great Reset
2000 broke the 10-minute barrier. In saying that, there were 14 of them on the card, so, you know, perhaps brevity was a good thing here. 6 days before the pay-per-view, Russo and Bischoff returned to WCW to spearhead a company-wide reboot, which included stripping all reigning champions of their titles. As a result, most of the matches at Spring Stampede were either tournament matches or matches to determine champions. Though Russo vowed to lead the new blood against the Millionaires Club of aging headliners, it was Flair and Luger going over the Mamalukes and Harris twins in the show's handicap match opener. And then that promising up-and-comer Mancow beat Jimmy Hart. Yes, WCW booked this match twice on pay-per-view within a 6-month period. It's really hard to figure out why they went out of business, isn't it? Scott Steiner beat
it's so hard I can't compute it.
Awesome went over Ernest Miller in a shockingly good bout. Both matches were quarterfinals in the US title tournament.
That is a good looking belt, though.
Bagwell's tag title tournament semi-final victory over Harlem Heat 2000 was nothing to write home about, since it wasn't given enough time to fully suck. The US title tournament continued with...
Hey, more US title tournament. Oh, can I just say this about... I want to say this about the US title from WCW. When I think of the WWE United States title that they have today, it reminds me a lot of the WCW US title, and I thought that title looked awesome. Of course, it's not as good as the Canadian heavyweight title, which... it just makes me smile every time I think about it. Anyway, in a Booker T. That sounds fun.
beating Booker, you still can't call him T in a solid outing, with Vampiro beating Kidman in another good match between those two. Terry Funk then won the hardcore title by beating Norman Steiner in a really fun off-the-wall contest. Steiner booked his place in the US title tournament final by beating Orton in a match that was just getting going before it finished. He would meet Sting, who blew past Vampiro in the other semi-final. A six-man cruiserweight title match was a fun scramble, but didn't have enough time to hit that next level before Chris Candido walked away with the belt.
I like Chris Candido,
then beat Flair and Luger thanks to interference from a debuting Chronic. The Genetic Freak upended the Icon to walk away with the US title. The match was kinda meh and featured yet more outside interference and blood. And in the main event, the Chosen One Jeff Jarrett won his first WCW heavyweight title by
There should be a big moment for Jeff. But
now let's all slap our nuts in celebration. Number 3, Slamboree.
You might want to rephrase that.
These 4 words were enough to crush the spirit of any self-respecting professional wrestling fan.
I just don't know.
Ready? World Champion David Arquette. And while the Hollywood actor was inexplicably defending the title in their
it's that show.
2000, the show itself wasn't all bad. I mean, it wasn't good or anything, but this is WCW in 2000, so we're kind of grading on a sliding scale here. It started with Chris Candido retaining his cruiserweight title against the Artist in a solid
I like Chris
Terry Funk's
Candido.
hardcore title defense over Norman Smiley, who was accompanied by the clueless Ralphus, was demented fun. Sean Stasiak and Nick had a lame storyline to work with going into their match, but the bout itself was perfectly acceptable wrestling. Prior to his US title match with Scott Steiner, Hugh Morris announced that he would no longer be known by that silly pun of a moniker, but going forward would be referred to as Hugh G. Rection. And for those not so quick on the uptake, that's Huge Erection. Get it? The surprisingly good match was appropriately stiff because, once again, Huge Erection, with Freakzilla retaining. A lame ending wasn't enough.
I got a headache now.
By Mike Awesome and Canyon, 2 talents who consistently tried to swim against the tide of crap in latter-day WCW and could always be counted on to put in a shift. The same can't be said for Lex Luger and Buff Bagwell, mind you. Their match here was mostly posing and rest holds. 5 stars for the buys and tries and abs, I must say. Shane Douglas and Ric Flair's
I gotta give those 2 credit. Those were some nice physiques.
A nice level of intensity. A terrible finish, as you might expect, but they had their working boots on
Flair and
for
street
it.
clothes.
Sting's win over Vampiro was
He really
short,
let
but
himself
fun while it
go.
lasted. Once you get over how surreal it is to see Billy Kidman take on Hulk Hogan in a freaking pay-per-view, the match itself is
It is
shockingly
David versus
entertaining.
Goliath,
So too
I
was the
think, of when I hear
spectacle
that.
was the main event, a triple cage match like the one seen in WCW-backed movie Ready to Rumble.
Hey,
With Arquette mainly
to be
staying out
fair,
of the way,
the
Jeff
triple
Jarrett and
cage
DDP did
looked
the vast
awesome.
majority
I like-
of the work before
I like how it
Swerve
looked.
Arquette turned on Dallas to hand double the title. Number 2, Fall Brawl. Like Slamboree,
So number 2 is Fall
featured nothing
Brawl,
that was necessarily must-see, but it wasn't completely awful. And
Oh, it wasn't that bad. Okay. Well, you wanna know why I don't care? Why I don't know about much about Fall Brawl 2000? There's no War Games in there. When I think of Fall Brawl, I think of the War Games match. But the War Games were gone. They brought it back for Nitro, but... Man... I like War Games. Hey, how many of y'all like War Games? Let me know in the comments.
thus was one of WCW's
let's see.
best pay-per-views
Let's see
of
what
the
Fall
year.
Brawl's
No
got.
prizes for guessing, the Cruiserweights kicked things off, and while it wasn't exactly Ultimo Dragon versus Dean Malenko or anything, the title bout between Elix, Skipper and Kiwi was characteristically energetic.
I do like
Misfits in
Elix
action then
Skipper.
beats 3 counts in a real hidden gem of a match. Seriously, this was a lot of fun and I have nothing snarky to say about it.
Okay,
Aristotle
okay.
got one over on Chronic in what was originally billed as a chain match, but soon became a first blood chain match because if Vince Russo has taught us anything, it's
yeah,
that there's no
that's-
such
that
thing as
sounds
two
kinda
gimmicks.
dumb.
Lance Storm's Canadian title defense against General Rection was as good as its place on the card would suggest, and who doesn't love a good Jim Duggan heel turn? Up next, The filthy
Me,
animals
I
and
don't
the
like
natural-born
it.
thrillers went to a no contest in an enthralling 7 versus 7 affair. It's just a shame the match had to be stopped after honorary animal Paul Mr. Filthy Orndorff got injured. The mixed tag scaffold match between Shane Douglas and Tori Wilson and Billy Kidman and Medusa was as awful as it sounds, as was the triple threat with Vampiro, Muta and Sting. The show got back on track
That should
thanks
sound like a fire
between
match.
Jeff Jarrett and Mike Awesome before Scott Steiner and Goldberg had a hard-hitting big man match. A bit too much interference and other shenanigans for my liking, but the effort was there and the big bad booty daddy got a big W via technical submission. And in the alleged main event, Booker T regained the WCW World title by beating Kevin Nash in a cage match. Two positives here: Nash lost clean and his hair looked immaculate throughout. That's the power of a premium conditioner for you. Number 1, Starcade. Saving the best for last, WCW puts on a very entertaining
I've actually never.
in what turned
I actually
out to
don't
be
know
the
much
final
about
version of an
Starcade.
event that had been the company's
2000.
answer to WrestleMania. It wasn't close to WrestleMania caliber, of course, but it was the best we had seen from WCW in a very long time.
So what does Starcade offer?
The pace was set in the 3-team ladder match opener. Again, it's not like the Young Dragons 3 Count, Evan Courageous and Jamie Noble were on the same level as the Hardys, Dudleys and Edge and Christian, but they busted their cute little butts out there and should be proud of their efforts. Now, if I can be serious for a minute, Storm also deserves a lot of credit, because I'm fairly certain he's the reason his match with Ernest Miller was as smooth as it was.
Honestly, Lance Storm and Lance Storm was like one of the best parts about WCW in 2000, and in probably the best run of his whole career. I mean, don't get me wrong, I liked his run in ECW. I liked him in WWE. But in WCW, Lance Storm was like on another level. Oh, and if I could be serious for a moment, we all love Lance Storm.
Terry Funk regained the hardcore title in a nutty and very enjoyable match with Crowbar, another performer from the dying days of WCW who always seemed to give it a proper go. The quality dipped a little with Chronic's no contest with Big Vito and Reno, followed up by an uninspired ambulance match between Mike Awesome and Bam Bam Bigelow. The crowd didn't really care about General Rex's lethargic US title defense against Shane Douglas, and can you really blame them? The knockout street fight between the filthy animals Jeff Jarrett and the Harris brothers didn't make any sense. Then again, this was WCW in 2000 and nothing made sense, but the action sure was worth watching for spots like Mysterio getting powerbombed from the ring into a dumpster on the outside. The Insiders won the tag straps from the Perfect event in a match that was super over with the live crowd. Despite the match itself being basic formula here, the reactions greatly enhanced it and made it much better.
Crowd reactions can make okay matches turn into great matches.
Their no-holds-barred match with Demand's career on the line. Couldn't overcome the suck though, could they? Two men who could overcome the expected suck were Scott Steiner and Sid Vicious, who closed out the show and WCW's year on pay-per-view with a shockingly gripping world title match. There were no classics and still plenty of stuff that made the eyes roll, but Starcade 2000 was good value, if not too little too late as far as the promotion was concerned.
Oh, that's it? Okay. I'm gonna give this a like and... Yeah, papai! That is it, ladies and gentlemen. That is every WCW pay-per-view from 2000 ranked from worst to best by Cultaholic Wrestling. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel. Also, go check out Cultaholic's channel. They put on some bangers like the one right there. Air Tag Team WWE Tag Team Champs ranked. But with that being said, I'm out for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed this, and let me know what was your favorite and least favorite WCW 2000 pay-per-view. I would love to know. And that is all from me today. I'll see you in the next video. Peace. I am out. Goodbye, everybody. Peace.